Welcome to the Light Business Book Review. So today I'm going to talk a book that was the basis for the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. So this book for me, what makes this book special is that it has a way of bringing stories into it. Like it doesn't just give you like the principles or like the lessons. It uses stories and what I have found is that for me, stories have a way of making the lessons and the principles very relatable. So when I read this book, there are seven cures of lean birds. So the first cure is start patterning your past. So this one is more about like saving. So it is the recommended one is 10%. So that is 1/10 of everything you want. So because now the mindset is that part of all I earn is mine. The second cure is control your expenditure. So Clason recommends creating a budget. Now creating a budget and now listing the expenses that we'll be having for that month. So it can be a daily budget, it can be a weekly budget or a monthly budget. So depending on how you are paid. So creating a budget so that you know that this money will be used for this one will be used for this, and also you start with the basic stuff like those things you cannot live without. So start the necessities of life. So those are the main things that you start with. So first thing is that you pay yourself, and then now the expenses now come in. Q3 is making gold multiply. So making gold multiply is about creating an income, then investing the profit also back into what has created the income. So this one is more about acquiring asset. Now the profit you get from the asset, you put it back into that asset again. Like if you have made profit, you use the profit to acquire more assets. So yeah, he gives the example like you make a treasure work for you and his children's children. So it's like so the children are the profit from the asset. So you don't eat your children, so you bring them back into your asset. Cure number 4 is guard your treasures from loss by asking for advice from the experience. So Clason gives the examples. Now the stories are of people who lived in Babylon. So the story is that the guy was uh, the guy was given gold, and now he wanted to invest in buying shields. So they were bronze shields, and what he did is that he asked someone who was dealing with something different from shield. Like I think he was I think he had something different from the shield. Like he did not know anything about the shield. And what happened is that when he went to buy what they had agreed on, he got cheated on it. Like the money was just lost because it was sold fake stuff. And I was here is whereby like when you are looking to do something. So for example, you are looking to invest in something. What you do is that you ask for advice from someone who has already done it. So for example, like we're going to build a business which, so let's say a business like selling skincare products, you have to ask for advice from someone who has already done that, like someone who already has been in the business of the skincare business. So it's more like that. So it can be paid, it can be as advisors. So it's up to you to find the ways of bringing them in. But the crucial point is that they they have experience of what you want to ask them about. So number 5 of the cures of Olympus is on your own home. So in the richest man in Babylon, so that time it was in Babylon. So renting a house was very expensive, and now the recommendation was that when you own your own house, you reduce the expenses that will be spending on that on your on the renting. So and now when you reduce the expenses now, you can use that to multiply the goal. Like you can use it to acquire more assets. So the main thing here is that the main recommendation here is that you have a way of reducing your living expenses. So like now in our world today, like yes, you can own a home, but the other thing you can do is that you can look for a cheaper place so that it gives you the space so that you can have the space to invest invest now in acquiring asset without worrying too much, like whether you will be able to afford the rent or not. So it is more like reducing the expenses you are having in your house so that it can give you the space to invest in other stuff and also to keep your expenses down, because now the main thing here is that you have to live below your income. So that is the fifth cure of Olympus. The sixth cure of Olympus is ensure a future income. So here is where he talks about like when you're investing, you should find something that provides income. It's not like you put your money in there and now it doesn't, like it just stays there. So it's not about that. It's about acquiring cash flow, producing assets. So before you invest, you have to make sure that the asset provide income for you. Like after a given period of time, you get something from it, so that it can now manage itself, and also it can provide something for you to live on. So for your family and also for you yourself. The seventh skill of Olympus is increasing your ability to earn. So this one is related to the ensuring in your future income. So it is more about like when you are considering investing in something, like when you are considering what asset to acquire, the thing you should do is that you should not like play for the big stuff. You should first aim to create the first to earn in small sums. Like when you're when you're investing, the idea is your consideration is not to how much you can get from it. Your idea is mostly about first making sure that it can generate income for you, and then after that now you can increase that sum. So it is more about like starting small, like starting like where you are, like you don't start where you have your big goal, yes, but you start small and then now progressively now you aim toward now creating the large sums you are looking for. So for me, like these 7 keywords of Olympus I've been applying them in my life, and I can say that yes, they cure lean paths in that they make your past feel is good, and that is the that is the main thing about curing your past. Like it expands your goal, and now it makes sure that you also have like a goal so that it gives you peace of mind, and also it gives you the ability to take on opportunities that show up in your life. So that is about the 7 cures of a lean past. So the first one is that pattern in your past. The second one is control your expenditures. The third one is make your gold multiply. The fourth one is guard your treasures from loss by asking advice from the experience. The fifth one is own your own home. The sixth one is ensure future income. The seventh one is increase the ability to earn. So the ability of your asset to earn. So the other thing I did with this book is that add some notes that now I can say that they were separate from the main things that are like they did not have a big category to that they could fit into. So like so I'll be giving them the way they came to me. So the first one was pay your debt promptly. So yeah, it talks about like you should keep your debt to the minimum. Like now, for me, I have many friends who have gotten into the debt loop, whereby you find that they are taking debt here to pay another one here, and then they take another one here to pay this one. Like just goes round and round and round, and now you cannot. Sometimes you cannot even tell where it started from. So the key, the key here is that what Clason recommends is that you do not purchase what you can't afford. Like if you can't afford it, like just let it go. So the way the way I look at whether you can afford it or not is that for me I have two ways. So the first one is that I ask myself like so I give myself like 24 hours. So like if something had come to me like right now, I will give it up to tomorrow at 10:30 so that I may consider whether I'm still purchasing it or not. The other thing is that to know whether you can afford something or not is that can you buy two of them? So if you cannot buy two of them right now, so it means that you can't afford it. So the best way to handle that is that for now you just let it go. Like you don't purchase it right now. So about debts also, there's the issue of you take only so there is good debt and there is bad debt. So good debt is whereby you borrow the money and then other people pay for it. So for example, you can say like borrow the so let's say like a real estate. So you borrow to buy a real estate and then now you rent it and now you have the tenant now paying for the debt now. Like you find a way of structuring the deal so that the responsibility of repaying the debt is lies mostly with the tenant. So the key is to so that now it is good debt. Bad debt is where now you borrow it and now you pay with your hard-earned cash. Now it's whereby like you take a loan like let's say to buy something like furniture or something like clothes. So this more about like when you buy that when you take that debt like you cannot get anything from what you have bought with using that debt. So bad debt is whereby you when you take on the debt you end up paying like you end up being the payer of that debt. So the recommendation is that you take only good debt. So this is whereby you take debt, but you structure it in such a way that it is paid for by other people. So the another thing is that taking care of the family. So Clason gives this recommendation that the first thing you should think about is like your family. Like the first thing on your mind should be about their well-being. Also, like making sure they have the best of the basic type and also the best life you can give them. Another note is that like I talked about creating a will. So a will is whereby like you 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 give like instruction to how your world will be divided when you are not in this world anymore. So it is more about like creating a proper and honorable ways that the world will be divided across the people that you want them to inherit your wealth. Another thing is that talks about helping those in need. So like now in our now, I think it will come in the way of being involved in charity. So you can be involved in charity in different ways. So either you can like donate or you can partner with the people who are involved in that. So for me, like the way I look at it like right now is that it has more to do with mostly like the way you can channel it is through either through non-profit or you can go and do it yourself. Like you can find a way of giving to the people who need it more. So it is more about charity. Like you give without expecting anything in return. So that is about helping those in need. So the other way he recommends is that cultivating your own powers to study and to become wise. So that you can be more skillful and you can act with respect to the people around you. So this one is more about like this one more about like should never stop learning. So like every day you should learn something new to add on to what you know. So yeah, now I've seen different ways that this one operates. So there are people who will say like the traditional way does not work for them, like reading one of someone lecturing to them or having a teacher. So like that doesn't work for them, but that doesn't have to stop you. So you can find your way of learning. So maybe it can be either you can learn through experience where you can go and do it yourself or you can have someone to guide you like a coach or a mentor or you can pick the way of learning like either you can listen to podcasts, you can watch videos, you can ask someone to illustrate to you the point you like. The way I recommend it is that you have to find your best way of learning, and then when you find your best way, now you can now use your best way to make sure that every day you pick up something new. The other one is that about being grateful for what you have. What happened is gratitude is that when you are grateful, your mindset is set in such a way that you recognize like what you have, and now the more you recognize what you have, the more you notice more of what you have. Like it is like a spiral. So you can start with something small, and then with time you'll notice that you will have like more things to be grateful for. Like I remember when I started, for me I was like only grateful that I was alive. Like but now, like right now, Like now, today in the morning, like in my journal, I wrote more than 20 things that I'm grateful for. So being grateful, like it is a sure way to ensure that we'll have more every time. Like your mindset is set upon like our mindset is not based on luck. It is based on abundance. Like it's one of the quickest ways to cultivate an abundant mindset. The other one is about something that I've been talking about a lot, and that one is that what is the average of the five people who are closest to you. So the way this applies to well now is that you have to surround yourself with people who have the rich vibe about them. So it's not like so yeah, it's mostly about like being rich is more about the mindset. So when you are surrounded yourself with these people who are ahead of you, what it does is that it pulls you up. So the, your company can either like pull you up or can take you down. So when you align yourself with people who are more richer than you, what happens is that they pull you up. Like they force you to level up. So I say that that is like one of the other ways that you can one of the smallest things that you can start by shifting. The other thing is like it talks about the five laws of gold. So there are five laws of gold that if you follow them, there's no way that you will not end up well. So the first one is gold comes gladly and increasing qualities. To any man who put it one tenth of it away. So it's like for every income that you have, you put out only one tenth of it. So the second law is that gold labors and gold labors diligently and contently for the wise owner who find for it profitable employment. So this is more about like knowing how to invest. So it is more about like knowing like the difference between liabilities and assets. So it is more about like it's not just like more about like looking to acquire assets more than liabilities. So assets are the what put money into your pocket. Now liabilities are what takes this away from your pocket. So the key here is that you find an asset which has cash flowing income. So cash flow income means that from time to time you get income from it. So that is the second law. The third law is that God linked to the protection of the courteous owners. We invest it and the that ways of manwise in its handling. So here it's whereby it is more about like before you invest you have to ask the people who are more experienced than you what you are looking to invest in so that they can like point out things for you so that you can learn like what are the mistakes and now what you can take advantage of. So it is more about like finding someone who has already done it so that they can show you like how to go about it. So number four is gold slips away from the man who invests in businesses or purposes that is not familiar with or those that are not approved by the people who are skilled in what you are looking to invest in. So this one ties in with the that one. So that one is more about like you yourself are courteous and now the fourth one is more about like making sure that you have experienced people to when you are going about the investment. So law number five is God flees from the man who forces you to do impossible things or follows the advice of people who are not experienced. So this is so here now is mostly caution people about gambling. So so the thing about gambling is that it puts your capital at risk. Like for example, let's say like the Liverpool Arsenal game yesterday. So if you bet on that game, like you said, like Liverpool will win the game. So what happens is that so let's say you have put 1,000 on that bet. So what happens is that you are 1,000. It's been at risk of, you are at risk of losing it. Either if the game if Arsenal wins the game or if the game ends in draw like it ended yesterday. So what happens is that he recommends that you should not put your capital at risk under any circumstances. Like when you are going to invest in something, but make sure that the first thing that your capital will always be there. Like in case you want to use it, you can use it to acquire another asset. So it is more about like when you are looking for investment opportunities, you should only take the opportunities whereby your capital is not at risk. So after that, he gives other recommendations. So for example, like better a little caution that great regret. So this one is more about like before you take any actions that deals with your wealth, the first thing you should do is that you should look at the should look at the deal that has been brought to you or the deal you are considering. You should look at it thoroughly. So here is whereby like you before you take any action, like you first examine the deal from different sides, and now you make sure that all like if there is anything you are concerned about, if there is anything that you are not sure about, or if there is anything that is confusing. So this is where now you make sure that before you take on the deal that everything like now all your concerns have been addressed, the, the confusion has been blown away, and now you are sure about what you are looking to do. So it is more about like before taking action, you make sure that everything is clear to you. So you just have a little caution so that you avoid a situation whereby you start talking about like I wish I knew, or if this have, if I have done this, this would not have happened. So it is mostly about that. The other thing is that where the determination is, the way can be found. So this one is about the for you in your mind you have to be very determined. So like it all starts with you. So it reminds me of like the Death Race movie. So there's a point whereby Frankenstein now is being addressed by after Wayland has sold the prison. So he talked about like you are Frankenstein. It all starts and ends with you. So I think we can also take this attitude and now use it in the building of wealth. So whereby we can say that everything begins and ends with you. So it is more about like you take responsibility 100% of take responsibility of everything that you will be doing is your finances. So the last thing I wanted to end with is like I wanted to share the my light budget that I created from reading the richest man in Babylon. So what I do is that I give 1/10, so that is 10%. And then after giving now, so the first thing I do is that the giving. So before I do anything else, I always give 1/10. The second thing I do is that I save 10% to 30%. So this one is mostly for me. I label it. opportunity fund. So it is more about like when I get this opportunity, that is only when I can touch it. The other thing is that I invest in myself 10%. The other thing is entertainment, so that is 10%. And then the wardrobe, 10%. And then there is travel, 10%. And then there is the basic needs. So this one are the normal expenses. So like the rent and now the other stuff about that. So that one now it is I put it in the range, so it is mostly between 20 and 40%. So this one correlates with the saving. So depending on the amount that has come in, so I can either save between 10% and 30%. So if I save 10, it means that the basic need will take 40. And now if I save 30, it means that the basic need will be allocated 20%. So that is my late budget. So giving 10%, saving 10 to 30%, investing in myself 10%, entertainment 10%, wardrobe 10%, travel 10%, and now basic need from 20 to 40%. Now the other thing is that it's now for my brand like the NK Light. So what we do is that for every income we put back 20% back into the business. So we always like for every time we always put in 10% back into the business. So that's all for today, and I appreciate you being here. So I'll see you next week when I dig into that book that I read, and now that book was a book that have been recommended by many people in the personal development. So sorry, personal development, and not the book by Napoleon Hill. So next week I'll be digging into the book by Napoleon Hill. So that's all for today, and I would like to wish you a productive week. So bye bye, Carpe diem.